Do you want to know the #1 scam when it comes to grants? Keep watching because I'm going to break some things down for you, including what that is and 4 ways to protect yourself. Imagine you get a call, you get a text or an email, and someone mentions your nonprofit and they say, we want to award you $50,000 to keep doing the great work that you're doing. All we need is your personal information in order for us to process the check. What do? Well, in I would say 98% of those scenarios, it is absolutely a scam, and it happens with any type of grant. It could be for individuals, it could be for your house, it could be for your nonprofit. What ends up happening is people will reach out to you or get your information so they can use it for their own benefit. And this is one of the top scams that news people report on and people report on all over the internet. Now, I have seen other types of scams. I actually did a video on this before when it comes to grant writers, and so I'll link that above, but this is really just in reference to getting a grant. So if somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, I have money for you, then you should be very, very cautious. That doesn't necessarily mean that it is a scam though. But if a person has reached out to you and you have not applied for the grant, you have never heard of the grant, then it probably is a little suspicious. It probably is a little scammy, and you need to be very careful. So what I'm going to do in this video is break down 4 ways or 4 things you can do to protect yourself to make sure you don't get scammed. I do have one huge caveat to everything I'm saying in this video, so if you wait to the end, you'll see what I mean. #1, research the organization that's funding you or that's attempting to fund you. So if somebody reaches out to you in order to give you money, especially in the form of a grant, then you need a name. Then you need information about their mission, about their purpose. If it's a foundation, who's on their board? Do they have a grant administrator? Do they have a program officer? Try to get as much information that you can, especially when it's around the name of the foundation. So I'm going to be honest that when it comes to a lot of foundations, they are kind of low key. The last statistic I saw about the number of foundations that have websites was less than 10%. So just because a foundation reaches out to you and you can't find a website doesn't mean they don't exist. Most of them don't have websites, but most of them do have some kind of track record, or you can find out information about them online. So if you can get a name of the organization and if you can get a name of the person or someone who works there, then that's a good start. What you can do is go to the foundation directory online. It is a free directory of foundations. It's the same directory that I've talked about in this video I'm linking above that talks about how to find grant opportunities. Well, you can look up the name of a foundation and see information about who they fund and what their purpose is. You can also, if it's a foundation, look up their 990 form. All private foundations and public charity nonprofits are required to submit a 990 form, and that is public information. So you should be able to find a recent 990 form, and it should be online. ProPublica is a public service that produces 990s of nonprofits, but Candid.org, which is responsible for the foundation directory online, also has a 990 directory. So you should be doing your research to see if the foundation is listed there. One caveat I'll say is sometimes people want to give you a grant from like a donor advised fund, or maybe they are working with a community foundation and they have money with the community foundation that foundation manages, and they want to give a grant to you through the community foundation. So they may not have the structure of a foundation, they may not have a board, they may not have a name and all of that, but they're still tied to some kind of institution. They still should be associated with whatever fund they're working with, whatever bank they're working with, whether it's Bank of America, Fidelity, or the community foundation. So you should be able to ask information about what's the source of this money, who is it coming from, what's the organization, so you can do your diligence and make sure that they actually exist. The second thing I want you to know is that you shouldn't have to pay money in order to receive a grant. This is one of the biggest red flags I want you to pay attention to. If somebody is asking you to pay money in order to receive a grant award, then more than likely they're not legit. Now, I said this in another video in the past that sometimes you'll have like smaller community-based grants where it's based on like an association or a group of people. So you invest into the group or the association. Maybe you pay like $25, and from that pot that everyone pays into, they award grants from it. But that's like a co-op situation that you should know about, you should be able to research, or you would already be attached to it, right? So if somebody's asking you to pay and you don't know about them and have never heard about them before, then more than likely it is a scam and you need to be very careful. Number 3, at all costs, protect your personal information. Be very cautious and diligent about what you share and what they're asking for. So if somebody reaches out to you and says they want to give you a large sum of money or they want to give you a grant, and they're asking you for a lot of your details, but they don't want to give up a lot of their details, that's a red flag. So if they're asking you off the bat, hey, give us your routing number, give us your credit card number, what bank do you bank with, all that information, they want names of people. If they're asking for all that information and they're unwilling to share anything about what it's about, they don't have any background information about the grant or background information about the organization, then your antenna should be going up and you should be very cautious about what you share. And here's the other thing. Before you give out your personal information, if you feel like you can't talk to somebody, if you feel like they can't make space to be able to share so that it's more comfortable with you, if you feel like they're rushing you, then again, these are all red flags that there's something may be wrong. And number 4, look for clues of the grants or of the organization in other places. Namely, you want to look at other people they've funded. In most circumstances, you can look up who a foundation has given money to. So if you use the foundation directory online, you can see the organizations that foundations have funded. And you can look and see if those organizations are similar to you. Are they in the same geographic area? Do they do the same type of services? Is the amount of the grant similar to the other amounts that they give? Look for the similarities, look for the trends and the patterns, and if something seems off, then it might be off, because someone may be citing a real foundation but still be a scammer if it doesn't match their giving pattern in the past. Also, you may be able to reach out to a previous grantee. Sometimes if a foundation has a website, then they list their grantees on their website. You can look up the names of the grantees, and if you feel comfortable reaching out to someone who works at those organizations to see if it's legit and to see if it's a similar process that you had. You just want to make sure you go through the process of vetting. You want to go through the process of making sure this really is legit. And I'll say this again, foundations really are undercover. A lot of times they are very low key about how they fund and who they fund, because for a lot of them, they don't have enough money or the infrastructure to accept a lot of applications. So they choose to be low key. They choose to go after the people that they want to fund. They choose to do private research and check you out privately before they approach you. But most times they'll approach you to write a proposal that they can consider. Right? Even if they want to fund you, even if they have that intent, they're still going to ask you for something in most circumstances. They're still going to ask for a proposal. They're still going to ask for more information. They're still going to ask for a budget. So the bottom line is, if in your vetting or in your research, it's really hard to find more details about this opportunity, then it may be a red flag. So this is the one big caveat I just want to be mindful of. And that caveat's name is Mackenzie Scott. Mackenzie Scott is a billionaire. She was married to Jeff Bezos and has buku Amazon money, and she has made it her mission, her goal, to fund organizations aggressively. So she will give $1 million grants, she'll give $4 million grants. She just be dropping them year after year. And when she first started giving money, and this was during the pandemic, she didn't have a proposal process. She reached out to people. And when she reached out to those organizations, she got more information and she funded people privately. And a lot of times you didn't even know that these organizations were funded until they announced it, and some organizations never announced it because she didn't announce it. So she was very low-key about how she did this. So this is why I'm saying this is a very big caveat, because most foundations do not operate this way, but you may encounter some people who do want to be low-key and they do want to fund you and they're legitimate. But again, you still have to do your vetting process, and you still have to make sure that whoever you're speaking with is who they say they are and they're actually a legitimate organization. So I hope the 4 pointers that I gave you in the video today help you navigate the grant writing space. If you need help writing your first grant proposal, I do have a grant writing workbook. If you're interested in that, just comment grant workbook below and I'll send you the link so you can purchase that workbook. It has a sample proposal and a bunch of worksheets to guide you through development of your proposal, including the development of a budget. So if you're interested in that, just comment grant workbook below. And if you need help just with starting your organization and raising money for your organization, I have plenty of resources at bossonabudget.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.